I hope everybody's well and that you have been able to accept some of the things I've been saying. Today, I want to talk about what is and what is not. What is what's really happening, and what's not is what's not happening. Now, that sounds simplistic, but that's just the way it is. If you look at the church or political parties or any other group, you'll find that either they're fighting for what is or they're fighting for what is not. Okay? I would love for there to be a God. I would. It'd be so great if there was a God, looking out for us, looking down at us. But if there is a God, then what kind of a God is it? Because he's letting, 20,000 children a day die of starvation. Okay? So by saying there is a God, they're fighting for what isn't, I believe in the source, which is simply the source for all life and consciousness. Not a God who is looking down on us and controlling everything, okay? Now makes a lot more sense to me than imagining some, being who can control everything. If you're Republican, maybe you're fighting for what isn't, because that's what Republicans do. But in order to awaken, we need to understand the isness of things and not fight against it. The essence of things is that you and me are humans, okay, living on this planet. And we have a short time to live. We have, 70, 80 years, and that's it. We're going to die. That's the essence of things. The essence of things is that these bodies are not us. The essence of things is that our thoughts are not us. The emotions are not us. That's the essence of things. And if you fight against the essence of things, then you're causing human suffering for yourself and others. Let's see. Take the Republican Party fighting against the Democrats for what isn't. They say Trump won, he didn't. And that's not what is, And they're still fighting for it, There's people right now in this country who still believe in what isn't. And they are causing human suffering. Now, when you really fight for something that you believe in and it's wrong, that's when things will go bad for you. So that's why we try and figure out what is and not what isn't. All groups have a skewed idea of what is. All ideologies have a skewed idea of what is. The Muslims think one thing, the Jews think another, the Christians another still, the Buddhists another, okay? And they can't all be right? So somebody's got to be wrong, and that makes people suffer. Look at the people in Afghanistan starving right now, okay? Look at the pain on the faces of Americans who don't get enough to eat because there's not enough money available to them, even though there is, so much money in this country, and they're suffering for what? So somebody else can have a Mercedes-Benz? I mean, that is not what is, okay? Or should be, I guess. If you have a pain, let's say you hit your knee, all right? Or let's say you have cancer and you have pain. You're going to construct a story about that pain. Oh, it shouldn't be you. It shouldn't have happened to you. So on and so forth. Or whatever. Whatever story you construct. That's what humans do. Okay? We tell stories to ourselves about what's happened to us. When we do that, we're basically causing our own suffering. Okay? And what we should be trying to do is relieve suffering, right? I mean, that would be a good thing. So how do we stop doing that? Well, for starters, by accepting what is. I hurt my knee, or I have cancer. Pain is pain, okay? It's going to keep coming. It's not going to stop. But by saying, oh, it shouldn't have happened to me, or oh, this is my life, it keeps happening, why does everything seem to happen to me, so on and so forth. I don't know all the stories that everyone might tell about the things that happen to them, but believe me, they're not good. We have to accept what is, and accept that pain is part of life. And by making a story and wrapping it around ourselves, we cause human suffering to ourselves and others. Okay? Now, whether you believe in an ideology or whether you don't, you believe in a football team or a rock and roll band, or whatever you believe in, you think they're the best, right? And maybe they are, and I'm not saying they're not, okay? But by steadfastly sticking to that idea, even though perhaps, you might be proven wrong, you're causing human suffering for yourself and others. And believe me, I don't like the idea that we're causing our own suffering, but we are. So how do we stop? By taking responsibility for ourselves. By taking responsibility for the pain. This is my pain. I'm dying of cancer. That's because I did this. I smoked too much, or whatever. Or maybe there's no good reason for me to be dying of cancer, but that's what's happening. I'm dying of cancer. And by accepting that pain, even though it might be the worst pain in the world, you don't create suffering around it. Okay? Now, if your family comes to see you at the hospital, okay, and you tell them the story of your pain, that causes human suffering to them because they have to sit there and listen to it. They have no choice. They love you, they care about you, and they want the best for you. So they listen to you. Okay? But by accepting what's happening to you instead of trying to fight against it, accepting that your religion may not be the right one, or accepting that your religion, doesn't necessarily have all the answers, okay? Or that your political party doesn't have all the answers, or that the band that you think is the best isn't the best. You can avoid human suffering. And I don't want anyone to suffer. I hate all suffering, okay? All these people in Afghanistan and Yemen and Somalia, all dying because there's nothing to eat. And yet here we have everything to eat. Okay? And why should that be? It's because we don't care about them because they're way over there, you know? If we really did care about them, we'd do something, one would assume. But since we don't do anything, and we continue to let those people starve to death, okay, that's obvious we don't care. But what we can't care about is our own suffering. And not telling a story around the suffering, our own pain, or our own position that we're taking, you know? We can alleviate some suffering, our own suffering. God knows that if there's a God, it's hard. It's hard to not make suffering happen. It's happening all over the place. And you do it without even realizing you're doing it. Okay? But there's a way to stop the suffering within yourself and within others, and that is to accept what is. Accept the isness of things instead of trying to fight against it, because in the end, fighting against it doesn't work. Okay? No matter how much Trump thinks should have won that election, he didn't. And he's just causing suffering for all these people who thinks he didn't win. He should have won it also. So now all these people, thousands of people all over the United States, hundreds of thousands of people, are in the middle of a lie. They're living a lie, which is causing suffering, okay? That's just one person fighting against what is. And it spreads out from that one person in a wave. So, the main thing here that I wanted to say is accept what is. Accept this moment. This is the only moment you have. You don't have any others. The present moment. When the future comes, it'll be the present moment. The past happened in the present moment. There's nothing else. All of your life happens in this moment. I know that sounds strange, but it's true. Now is moving. It's moving through the universe. And it's taking us with it. That moment, is moving through time. And if we're worried about the future, or worried about the past, what we should have done, then that is going to cause suffering. Okay? Living in the moment now is what matters. And all these things that fight against what is, whether it's a religion or a group or a political party, aren't helping. And if you got caught up in the machinations of this political party or of any group, then you are going to suffer. And as an awakened person, it's your, duty to relieve suffering, okay? Now, I'm not going to go to Somalia or Yemen or Afghanistan or any of the places where people are suffering. I live here in America, okay? But here in America, I can stop the suffering that I cause myself, okay? And that suffering spreads out from me in a wave. So if I stop the suffering that I am experiencing, and what is suffering? Suffering is caused by human fighting against what is. accept what is. And don't let the future, which hasn't happened yet, therefore doesn't exist, the past, which is dead, stop you from being with what is. Alright, well, I guess that's all I have to say for today. I love you guys. Take care. Bye.